Stop. Before you do anything today, I need you to hear this. Imagine you check your pension statement one morning. Same as always, numbers on a page, a fund you've been paying into for years. And one line doesn't make sense. A company you've never heard of, listed on Germany's most prestigious stock exchange, worth more than Deutsche Bank, and 60% of your savings gone overnight. That's what happened to Lena, 38 years old, accountant, careful with money her entire life. She did everything right. She just trusted the wrong company, along with 260,000 other investors on the same day. 1.9 billion euros. That's enough to build 19 brand new hospitals in Germany. And it never existed. Not stolen, not lost. It was never there. Welcome back to Success Explained Like You're 5. 3 lies. 3 moments where someone could have stopped this. And one reason why it keeps happening. Let's go. Wirecard was founded in 1999 in Munich. Its first clients? Porn sites and online gambling platforms. Not exactly the future of German finance. But then a consultant named Markus Braun walked through the door. He injected capital. He took over. He had a vision. Through the 2000s and 2010s, it worked. 26 countries, nearly 6,000 employees. And then in 2018, the moment that changed everything. Wirecard was added to the DAX, BMW, Siemens, Deutsche Bank. Its market capitalization reached 24 billion euros. Wirecard was worth more than Deutsche Bank. Everyone believed him. Here is where it gets uncomfortable. Because while the world was celebrating Wirecard, someone already knew the truth. The Financial Times had been investigating since 2015. Warning signs, accounting gaps, numbers that didn't add up. And what happened? BaFin, Germany's top financial regulator, filed criminal complaints. Not against Wirecard, against the journalists. Germany's financial watchdog was protecting the fraud instead of exposing it. That's not incompetence. That's a systemic failure. And it cost 260,000 investors everything. Wirecard claimed to have 1.9 billion euros in trustee accounts at 2 banks in the Philippines, 1/4 of Wirecard's entire balance sheet. The auditors at Ernst & Young saw confirmation letters. They signed off. For years. And then the 2 banks in the Philippines said something extraordinary. They had never heard of Wirecard. The money had never been there. The confirmation letters were fake. The accounts were fake. The 1.9 billion euros was fake. And Ernst & Young had signed off on it. Every year. For years. Lena's pension fund was invested in a company whose biggest asset was a lie. She just didn't know it yet. His name is Jan Marsalek, Chief Operating Officer of Wirecard. On paper, a brilliant fintech executive. In reality, nobody really knew. He had ties to foreign intelligence agencies. He was described as someone who seemed to know things he shouldn't know. When the fraud was discovered, Marsalek was fired. And then he disappeared. He boarded a private jet in Austria, flew to Belarus, and from there to Russia. The COO of a DAX-listed company escaped to Russia with the help of intelligence contacts. To this day, March 2026, Jan Marsalek has never been found. Here's what I want to know. If you had been Lena's financial advisor, at what point would you have noticed? Tell me in the comments. Because lie number 3 is exactly about that question. BaFin filed criminal complaints against the Financial Times reporters. They banned short selling of Wirecard stock in 2019. Think about what that means. When a newspaper reports that a company might be fraudulent, the regulator's response was to make it illegal to bet against that company. They were protecting the share price, not the investors, not Lena. And Ernst & Young, auditors since 2009, signed off on those fake accounts. Every single year. The entire system, regulators, auditors, analysts, looked at the same information and chose not to see it. That was lie number 3. It wasn't just Wirecard's lie, it was everyone's lie. June 18th, 2020. Wirecard announces 1.9 billion euros is missing. The share price falls 86%. June 22nd. CEO Marcus Brown arrested. June 25th. Wirecard files for insolvency. 3.2 billion euros in debt. Sold for 100 million euros. 6 months later. And Jan Marsalek? Still free. Still in Russia. Still on Interpol's list. Lena's pension is still gone. So what does a 24 billion euro fraud have to do with you? More than you think. Wirecard didn't collapse because of one genius fraudster. It collapsed because a system of checks stopped checking. The auditors stopped asking hard questions. The regulators stopped protecting people. Everyone assumes someone else was responsible. The receipt you assume your accountant will catch. The invoice you sign without reading it fully. The small thing nobody checks because everyone assumes someone else is. That is how frauds grow. Not in one dramatic moment, but in 1,000 quiet ones where nobody asks the question. You are not Lena. You have something she didn't have. You know the questions to ask. Open your last 3 business invoices. Read the line items, not just the total, the actual line items. 2 minutes. If something doesn't make sense, ask. That question is exactly what the Wirecard auditors forgot to ask. Being the person who asks is the entire difference. 3 lies, 1 collapse, 1 man still hiding in Russia. That was Wirecard. If this made you think, hit subscribe, because next week I'm covering the company whose product killed more people than some wars, and they knew, for decades. They just decided the profits were worth more. See you then.